Yalimadad, Navroz Mubarak. Lately, I have been troubled by many of the things I have heard and experienced. As a 14-year-old girl, writing poetry has given me an outlet to express myself. My slam poem is an impassioned plea for us to look beyond our superficial attributes to the common humanity that unites us all, because every one of us is perfect in every way. Looking through the glass mirror. Some days I wake up and look in the mirror. In fact, we all do. And do you know at who? At the person we hate most in this world, because society has told us to criticize every bruise, every scar, and every cut, setting us apart from what we have been told is the norm. And so, staring into this mirror, you ask, how can I change, become better, and fit into this so-called norm? Why? Here's why. I get paid less than you just because I have long hair and wear dresses while you're all manly. You are left alone in the hallways at lunch just because you don't speak English and I've grown up with that language. I get pointed at and laughed at in the change room just because my hips are curved a different way than yours. You work at a gas station while I go to university just because I have more change in my pockets. I am seen of less worth than you just because my skin is brown and yours is white. I may not be allowed into Mr. Trump's country just because I pray in a Jamaat Khana and you in a church. My friends, do you want to know a secret? One that every hater, sexist, and racist has somehow unknowingly forgotten. Well, let me tell you something. These differences between me and my friend, me and my neighbor, me and the stranger on the street, they are all okay. They are more than all right. Because you are you, and I am me. It's crazy how we dispute against difference, but have rarely taken a single second to think otherwise. What if we were all exactly the same, speaking only one language, had the exact same shades of skin, prayed to the same God, and carried the same amount of change in our pockets? Would that be a perfect world? Would we live in harmony, bored out of minds with nothing more to learn from each other? The answer is simple: no. Human beings were not constructed to be identical robots. We have each been shaped into our own snowflake, rare and unique, in detail and pattern, with no two combinations of DNA or chromosomes exactly alike. And once we accept that reality, then instead of warring, bombing, nuking, and building walls, then we will be able to put our minds together for great missions, living side by side as neighbors on this beautiful planet we call Earth, in one great big circle, with our arms linked and our hearts virtually connected. So I say to you today, when you wake up tomorrow, look through that glass mirror. Not at the person you hate, but rather who you love most in this world. That amazing, incredible, extraordinary human being who has a story behind them, created day by day, chapter by chapter, with strengths, weaknesses, uniqueness, and differences from the norm. Yourself. Never change. You are perfect in every way. Thank you. Thank you.
그다지다기나 돈나 걔나 걔게다 그대네다 걔나 걔나 대체 그다
I would like you to know how deeply touched I am by this wonderful evening and by the celebration of my Golden Jubilee here in India. It has been a time of enormous happiness, but also a time of thinking back to the status of the Jamaat in 1957 in India, Pakistan, East Africa, Central Asia. And I say to myself, Alhamdulillah, the Jamaat has made progress. It lives in greater security. It lives in countries where there is greater hope, greater stability. And there will always be problems, that we all know. But the fact that this can be said by the Imam of the time today is due to the leadership of the Jamaat, to the unity of the Jamaat, to the efforts decade after decade to move forwards, to build capacity, to build institutions, to follow a sense of direction in life. And this I want to say this evening because I see amongst the Jamaat here this evening many leaders of the past, the leaders of today. And I think back to what was the time that they led and what were the problems that they had to deal with, and how leadership has built from generation to generation in continuity towards the sorts of results that we have all hoped and prayed for. I would also say that this has to be an occasion of joy, an occasion of happiness. And I want again to repeat my gratitude to the government, the central government, the government of the states, all the authorities, the state organizations, for the extremely warm and generous way in which they have received me here in India. And to tell you that this friendship, because it is a genuine, sincere friendship, will carry outside India, will not remain in India. It will carry outside India. And we will work together to try to establish places in the world where people can live in plurality, in happiness, and in security. I would also like to say how very happy I am to see the magnificent progress that you have made since I was last in India. And we will continue to build, to try to expand activities where they need to be expanded. I am still concerned about the quality of education, the access to education of our younger generations, particularly in the rural environments. I am concerned about economic support for people who are not yet independent in their economic destinies. There is much to be done. But I have a sense of confidence, a sense of great confidence, because India is moving forwards, because the Jamaat is moving forwards. And it has built and it will continue to build strong institutions. And ultimately, it is strong institutions which enable countries, communities, families to establish a permanency of progress. Ultimately, that is what we're talking about, the permanency of progress. There are so many leaders here this evening that I would be unable to mention all of them, but I simply want to tell you how grateful I am as the Imam for the magnificent work that you have done. I congratulate you. I send to you and your families my affection, my love, and above all, my gratitude for what you have done for the Jamaat and for the Imamate. I have enjoyed the evening enormously. I enjoyed the dances. I congratulate the youth, and I hope that they will carry forward the humor and the joy of this evening. Thank you.
Ya Ali Madad, welcome, bienvenue, Khush Amadid. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Friday Night Reflections. My name is Noor Weiss and I am the President of Council for Quebec and Maritimes, and I'm honored and privileged to be the host of this week's Friday Night Reflections and welcome our Jamaati members, Multifaith family members, and everyone joining us from across Canada and the globe. I'm coming to you this evening from Montreal. I think we can all agree that it's now almost an official tradition of the Friday Night Reflections for the host to share with you what they have as a snack while they watch and enjoy the Friday Night Reflections every week. So, as is the case with many Central Asian Jamaat, we love dry fruits. So, as a snack, I have some almonds, walnuts, and raisins, and a nice glass of green tea. Easy, simple to make, and healthy. Friday Night Reflections has been a wonderful way for us to come together as a Jamaat. One of our strengths is the diversity of our Jamaat, and tonight I will build on this by sharing some reflections in English, French, and Farsi. First of all, I hope and pray that you and your families are keeping well and healthy. J'espère que vous ainsi que vous êtes chers se portent bien. امیدوار هستم که شما و همه اعضای فامیل شما با صحت و سلامتی بوده و از همه مشکلات و جنجال های زندگی در امان باشین و به پناه و عصمت خداوند باشین. Tonight's theme is mentorship and how as a Jamaat we can have a positive impact on each other's lives by sharing our experiences and knowledge with each other. First, I would like to provide an update about the impact of COVID in Quebec and the Quebec Jamaat. Here in Quebec, like in most other provinces, as the number of COVID cases continue to rise, we are witnessing an increase in the number of Jamaati members who are being affected by this situation as it prolongs. We pray for Mushkil Asan to all those Jamaati members who are going through a difficult time and hope and pray that we will come out of this united and stronger. As you know, the Quebec province is under lockdown and we have a curfew between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. Nous savons que cette période est particulièrement difficile pour plusieurs membres du Jamaat. Nous prions pour Mushkil Asan et pour votre force face à ces difficultés, pour la santé, prospérité et pour le rétablissement de tous ceux qui sont malades. جماعت عزیز، پروگرام این هفته ما درباره منتورشپ یا راهنمایی است که چطور ما میتوانیم با همدیگر از نگاه مسلکی و از هر نگاه علم و دانش با همدیگر همکاری کنیم تا همه اعضای جماعت بتوانند که در هر شغل و پیشه و کسبی که هستند بیش از پیش موفق شوند. I would like to use this opportunity to acknowledge the extraordinary support from our amazing Jamaati members across Canada and the exceptional work of our Muki Kamrias, Mukiani Kamrianis, our amazing volunteers, badged and non-badged, and the extraordinary work of the Ghusl and Mayat Committee in particular that had a very difficult year. We thank you from the bottom of our heart for your commitment, for your dedication, and for the excellent work and seva you have done for the Jamaat during these past months, especially, which have been very, very difficult for all our Jamaat and the communities outside. As many of you know, we have had a significant increase in the size of the Jamaat in Quebec from the Central Asian origin. And in fact, in 1992, when we had the Padrami in Montreal, we were a Jamaat of only 1,000. And during that visit, Maulana Hazar Imam spoke with the Quebec leadership about the upcoming wave of settlements of Central Asian Jamaat in Quebec. After a few months, we received 300 Central Asian Jamaat in Quebec. That was immediately 30% increase in the size of the Jamaat. And that continued over the following 6 years. We received approximately 3,000 new immigrants to Quebec. And that continued and is continuing till today. And today we are a Jamaat of over 12,000 and still increasing. And more recently, we are receiving and welcoming more and more of our brothers and sisters from Syria, which we are very, very excited because it just adds to the diversity and the beautiful mosaic of our Jamaat in Quebec. And of course, you know, with every wave of immigration, there are some challenges, linguistic, cultural, and all that. But as a Jamaat and as a community, we really have to champion the pluralism and the role of diversity and inclusion within our community and within our institutions. So Shukr Maula, we have had a great journey so far in Quebec, and we are looking forward to receiving more and more Jamaati members in the coming years. Since we are talking about mentorship and settlement, I would like to share with you my personal journey. I came to Canada in 2005, and I was just looking for a job as any newcomer, or most of the newcomers, and I ended up meeting an ACP counselor, a skills and employment program counselor at the council office. And after our first meeting and reviewing my documents and credentials and what I had done back in Pakistan, she actually refused to give me a job that she had. She told me that there was a position that she had at a gas station, but she instead decided to book an appointment with a university in Montreal, with Concordia University, and she booked me a time with a counselor to review my credentials and see if there was an opportunity for me to further my education. So on that day, I was a bit disappointed because I was looking for a job, but she told me that it was perhaps not the best thing for me. I was young, I was about 24 at the time, and there were a lot of other opportunities. So I accepted her advice and I went to that counselor meeting, and after a review of my credentials, she said that they would be willing to accept me into their undergraduate program. The difference was one more year. The normal standard undergrad program was for 3 years, but I had to do an extra year to cover for some of the prerequisite programs that I did not have. So I accepted that, and in terms of choosing my career, I was very confused. I didn't know which career to choose, and these days I hear a lot of young members of the Jamaat, they are having the same issue. So what I did, I reached out to somebody that I knew in the US who I looked up to, and he was very, very a good Sevadari and somebody who had done a lot of great things for the Afghan Jamaat in Pakistan while he was a student back in Pakistan. So now he is still settled in the US and doing very well, inshallah, alhamdulillah. So I reached out to him, and he got back to me and he advised me to choose to follow the CPA program, which he thought was very promising, and there were a lot of opportunities in the market. So I just accepted that, and that basically changed my career. The person that I am right now, I have my own practice, and I have had the pleasure of working with so many professionals in my past. So I think it was a life-changing experience, and when I trace back, the trajectory of my progress, I give a lot of credit to that ECP counselor who did not give me the job at the time, and also this gentleman who in the US who guided me in the right direction. So I really believe in the power of mentorship, and I think it can change lives. And when Maulana Hazar Mahmoud speaks about breaking the cycle of poverty, this is how we do it, one family at a time, one person at a time. And once we break that cycle of poverty, it just continues from generation to generation. So I really encourage all the Jamaati members to participate and to take part in this amazing initiative. And the beauty of this program is that a person could be a mentee and a mentor at the same time. So you may be somewhere in middle management. You could be a great mentor for somebody who is starting their career, but you could also be a mentee of somebody who is higher up and have progressed in life. So it's a very good program, an amazing initiative, and I really look forward to the outcome of this program and the impact that it will have on the future of our Jamaat and the future in the next 5, 10, 15 and 20 years, inshallah. This evening, we are privileged to have President Amir Ali Qasim Laka join us for the first of a series of talks called From the Heart. President Amir will be discussing some of the soft skills needed to succeed in today's world. After that, we will hear from a distinguished panel about how mentorship has impacted them. Our panel will be led by Alima Jamal, lead for the mentorship program under the Future Ready initiative. Alima is from Calgary. She completed her undergraduate degree from Stanford, her law degree from Harvard, and is currently an engagement manager with McKinsey Consulting. Please welcome President Amirali Qasim Laka, followed by our distinguished panelists.
My dear brothers and sisters, Yala Madad. Starting tonight and for the next few weeks, I would like to speak to the Jamaat in a new series entitled From the Heart. Since the start of the pandemic, we have been discussing with the Jamaat matters of great importance for our future. In this mini-series, each week, I will highlight one character that is important for success in today's world. These are qualities that have emerged through decades of research and experience. These qualities are especially important for our youth who are making decisions in their lives that will impact their futures. The series is entitled From the Heart because the topics are foundations for living a life of success. Life, as we all know, offers us many powerful lessons. Some of these are better learned early rather than late. These are lessons which mentors might share with mentees or parents might share with their children. The Jamaati institutions want nothing more than for our youth, the next generation, to succeed. And so we are sharing these ideas from our heart. Tonight, I will discuss the concept of agency, initiative, being proactive. Agency has been shown to be a key determinant of personal success. Agency relates to how we approach the challenges of day-to-day life and how we embrace change because we have choices. To have agency is to believe that we as individuals have the ability to influence the outcomes of our life through the decisions that we make. Agency is a mindset that irrespective of life circumstances today, we have the ability to control the narrative of tomorrow. I will explain this concept through an example. The impact of agency on academic performance, drawing on research by psychologist Dr. Dweck. Research shows that people who exhibit high degrees of agency achieve greater academic performance. Those who have agency exhibit what is referred to or known as a growth mindset. They believe that their abilities are always developing and that they are continuing to grow, and that through hard work, good planning, and good mentoring, there is nothing they cannot achieve. People with agency have a goal in school to get better, so they put in the effort to acquire knowledge, they seek out difficult tasks, and they learn from mistakes and setbacks. They have more grit. Grit is tenacity, putting themselves in difficult situations and viewing failure as part of the development process. They are proactive. They view setbacks as a part of life, and they learn from setbacks, and setbacks do not hold them back so that they don't continue pursuing their goals. Now, this contrasts with those people who have limited agency. What are the characteristics of people with limited agency? These individuals believe that their abilities are fixed, that some people are just born better than others with greater intelligence, athletic abilities, artistic abilities, and social skills. Students in a fixed mindset are overly focused on their abilities or lack of abilities. They are invested in looking smart, and they try and make sure that they never end up looking foolish or silly. They avoid effort because it makes them feel unintelligent, and they are derailed by setbacks, believing that setbacks mean that they lack ability. These students do not put themselves in positions where they stand to fail. They do not seek to develop in areas outside of their comfort zone. In this way, they end up remaining stagnant and do not grow. Now, this might be a bit of an extreme example or characterization, but it shows the contrast at the two ends of the spectrum. Research shows that students with agency earn higher grades and have better test scores. They learn that they can grow their brain capacity, actually making new, stronger neural connections when they stretch themselves to learn hard things. They may encounter failure in the short term, but in doing so, they gain valuable experiences. They take calculated risks and develop the confidence to know that in life, no problem is insurmountable. It's just a question of how much time and effort one is willing to put in to solve the issue that one is facing. I have used academic performance as an example to illustrate what agency means, but this concept applies in other realms as well. In a professional setting, having the confidence to pursue the steps required for a promotion, a new job, or a higher paying role. With family, friends, and loved ones, taking the approach that any relationship can be made better with the appropriate amount of work. And in our personal lives, understanding that we can overcome impediments when we set our mind to it. That whatever our condition today, we have a great life in front of us. It may not be the case behind us, but we have a great life ahead of us should we make the decision to take control. I would therefore ask our youth to think deeply of your ambitions. Are there goals you have not invested in? You've not put time in out of fear of failure because you have felt that you are not talented enough to achieve them, or because you didn't think you stood a chance. In the circumstances precipitated by COVID, as we consider our professional and business conditions, are we demonstrating agency by pivoting into new opportunities, or are we accepting the status quo, taking life as it comes, and potentially missing out on areas of promise? Because of COVID, the conditions of COVID, and to come out of COVID, never before has it been as important to have agency, to be proactive, to have initiative as it is today. So I would say that if you fall into the latter frame of mind, I would ask you to reconsider, to alter the mindset, because the smallest change of belief in yourself might be the only obstacle preventing you from making your goals a reality. Thank you, and Khudafiz.
Thank you, President Saib. Looking forward to today's conversation, I started to reflect on my earliest experience of mentorship. I remember standing on a stool on my tippy toes in the kitchen, placing my hands over my nanimas as we rolled out the dough to make rotlis. No matter how hard I tried, I was not able to replicate the perfectly round rotlis she seemed to have effortlessly prepared. Mine looked like blobs. I remember that a part of me felt frustrated in the moment. And while my quest for the perfectly round rotli still continues, what I really took from this mentorship experience with my Nani was how much I valued her gentle encouragement and patience, which has enabled me to take creative risks both inside and outside the kitchen. Today, we have an opportunity to reflect on the impact of different forms of mentorship on each of us. Joining our panel tonight is Karim Thomas, who serves as the Vice President of the Aga Khan Council for Canada. Karim is a partner with McKinsey & Company, advising a range of financial institutions on strategy and transformation. He also served as the chairman of the Aga Khan Education Board from 2012 to 2019. We are also joined by Nurullah Husseinzada from Calgary, an architect with Farmore Architecture. Nurullah completed his Bachelor of Environmental Design and Architecture at UBC and his Masters of Architecture at the University of Calgary. And rounding out the panel is Mubina Mistry, a medical student at the University of Toronto. She recently graduated with distinction from Queen's University with a Bachelor's in Science. Mubina received an Ontario Youth Volunteer Service Award for her contributions to the community. How impressive. Welcome to all of you. Karim, we know that the Future Ready initiative is a major undertaking to help prepare the Jamaat for the years ahead. I'm wondering first if you could help us understand the role that mentorship and the Fast Track program plays within the Future Ready initiative.
Sure, thank you, Alima. So, as many of you have heard from President Amir, the Future Ready initiative is the flagship initiative of the Jamaati institutions to help all of us in the Jamaat across the country really prepare for not only sort of navigating through the changes that are going to come over the next few years, but thriving through those changes. It's really a reflection of the confidence that Maulana Hazrat Imam has expressed repeatedly to the Jamaat, that coming out of the pandemic, the Jamaat will be in a position of greater strength, of greater confidence, of greater hope and optimism. Fast Track Mentorship is one of the 4 pillars within the Future Ready initiative. The other 3 pillars are the Family Mentorship Program, the Future of Work, and Mental Health. Mentorship and Fast Track Mentorship is important to us because it's about bringing the Jamaat together. It's about harnessing the knowledge, the insights, the wisdom, the experience of Jamaati members to help other members of the Jamaat. And that's an incredibly important and fundamental part of preparing ourselves for navigating and thriving through the future. One of the very exciting things for us about Fast Track is that it is really about connecting the Jamaat based on who you are instead of who you know. When Fast Track was started, it was started by a couple of young Jamaati members who lived in a small town in Canada. And one of the questions they were trying to answer for themselves was, how do we connect with the Jamaat that's more largely settled in the large urban centers in Canada? How do we benefit from all of the experiences, the insight, the talent, the knowledge that exists in those Jamaats? And how do we contribute what we have? And it's this notion which in today's COVID world is even more relevant of sort of remote mentorship, of connecting the Jamaat from coast to coast, that we're particularly excited about.
Wonderful. So Mubina, I think you can share a little bit about your participation in the program as a mentee in Fast Track. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you and how did it impact you?
Yes, for sure, Alima. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with the Jamaat my experience being a Fast Track mentee last year. To say that the Fast Track program was anything short of life-changing for me would probably be an understatement. I am very thankful to have had the opportunity to be connected with a mentor that was working at the time, of course, in medicine, which was a field in which I was interested in pursuing. And as a result, I was really able to be prepared in the right sense to kind of chase my dreams, as they say. And this is the first year actually that Fast Track is going to be presented and available in English and French. So I also want to kind of share a little bit more about my experience in French, if you would allow me the opportunity.
Of course.
Thanks. J'ai le grand plaisir de vous parler aujourd'hui à propos de mon expérience dans le programme de mentorat Fast Track en tant que mentoré l'année passée. On s'attend que les mentors vont avoir 4 appels avec leur mentoré pendant l'année et j'étais très chanceuse d'avoir eu une mentor très généreuse qui était toujours prête à m'aider. Elle m'a donné des conseils pour que je puisse bien réussir à l'examen MCAT et elle a aussi été une très grande partie de pourquoi j'ai eu la confiance de faire un bon entrevue et je crois que peut-être sans ma mentor, je n'aurais pas eu la même chance à réussir d'entrer en médecine et je suis très reconnaissante.
Amazing, Mubina. It sounds like your mentor has really had a profound impact on your experience and your path. And so now, switching to Nourullah. Nourullah, I've been particularly fascinated by your career path. As someone who's gone into architecture, I think many of us, I don't know that that's the first career that we think about when we understand the options that are available to us. So I'm curious to know what the experience has been like pursuing what might be a less conventional career path, and how did mentorship shape your view of the possibilities of that career path, both before you entered in and during your time?
Yeah, Luna, thanks, Halima, for that introduction and the opportunity to be part of the panel today. I would say that probably about three individuals have played a very important role in my life as mentors who have shaped my career. And it goes back to high school. Basically, when I was fascinated and interested in art, I was in IB art. I was doing paintings, drawings, and sculptures, and I was doing well in physics and mathematics as well at the same time. So my art teacher was noticing all of this, and he was kind of encouraging me to consider a career in architecture. And so part of the process towards becoming a registered architect is to do a certain number of experience hours in different kind of categories of architecture to make sure that you have sufficient experience. And in addition to that, overseeing those experience hours, they require that your work be overseen by a supervisor and a mentor. And in this case, they were both mentors to me. The supervisor, who is usually your employer, and in my case, it was Farhad Murtazai from Farmer Architecture, my good colleague at the moment. He would basically oversee all of the detailed work that I would be doing in the office, any kind of projects that I'd be working on, any kind of basically questions that I had specific to each project. He would be always there, and I am super thankful for him. He has been so helpful. On the other hand, outside of the office, I had my mentor, who was Aziz Boutwala from Kaysian Architecture. So anything that was kind of outside the office and looking at kind of a high-level view of my career and the trajectories, he was always there to speak to me if I had any kind of questions or difficulties. And so I would say that these three individuals have played a very crucial role in my life in shaping who I am today in my career and how I've arrived here.
And what advice would you give to other young people who are thinking about pursuing their passions or might want to pursue a passion in a field that may be less common?
So what I would suggest for that is that no matter what your passion is, absolutely 100% dedicate yourself to that and hone your craft. Just own it and make it better and better. Because although you might have mentors and people giving you advice here and there, at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on you to make yourself better. It takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline and self-motivation to take initiative and kind of build upon the guidance that mentors that provide for you.
Excellent. It's as you're making these comments, it's making me think of something that I always tell my family, which is I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And that's something I hold on to every once in a while because I realize that we're always evolving in our journeys. And so your words of wisdom, I think, really resonate with me as well. Vice President Karim, aside from your professional career, you've had a really rewarding journey in the life of Seva. Do you think the idea of mentorship also applies in the world of Seva? And who are some examples of individuals who have really inspired you along the way?
That's a great question, Alima. I do think that Seva and mentorship are completely interlinked. In our faith, the opportunity to serve in whatever capacity, in whatever way, there isn't a school that you go to, there isn't a training program that you go to. We are taught by the example, by the leadership, by the guidance, by the direction. Of course, first from our beloved Imam, and second from those that we work with around us. My Seva journey actually started when, in earnest, shall we say, when I got involved with the Education Board in British Columbia when I was in grade 7. And the reason I got involved with the Education Board, I don't know if I should disclose this on Friday Night Reflections, but the reason why I got involved with the Education Board was that there were a group of young people at the time who were part of the board, and a couple of them drove really cool sports cars. And I realized that if I got involved with the Education Board, one of them would come and pick me up and take me to the meetings that we had. This was back in the days when we used to meet in Jamaat Khana and do volunteer work kind of face to face. But it was these folks who were a little bit older than me who really took me under their wing, introduced me to institutional work, taught me how to do things through our institutional processes and structures. And I'll never forget how excited I was, on those Tuesday nights when waiting to go to these Education Board meetings in the black sports car and listening to techno music all the way to Darkana. And look, that's a bit of a lighthearted reminder for all of us that the things that the impact that mentors can have is often not the things that people will think about. If you go and ask those individuals today, what was the impact you had on Karim, they'll probably tell you about starting iStar in BC and the work that we had to do to get that going, or engaging young people in thinking about excellence in education. And I just told you that it was all about a black sports car and a ride once a week to Darkana. So, we may not recognize as mentors the impact that we have on our mentees or on those around us, but I think it's fundamental to who we are as a Jamaat and how our ethic, our tradition of service and of humility in that service has been conveyed over many generations.
That's a beautiful anecdote. And let me ask you this. So for those younger members of our Jamaat who may not be similarly motivated by sports cars or fancy cars, what advice would you give them as they are pursuing path in Seva. I think you've really demonstrated eloquently or shown us eloquently how mentors may be having an impact beyond what they would anticipate or expect. But what about our mentees? What advice would you have for them as they embark on a journey of Seva?
Look, I feel like I'm still on my own journey, so it feels a bit presumptuous to be giving advice to others in some ways. But what I will say is that right back to the root of our faith is the concept, is the notion of Islam being a faith of the intellect, of everything that we do being part of our journey of learning, of discovering, of understanding the beauty and the majesty of Allah's creation. And I think as a mentee, entering into that kind of mentorship relationship with the humility, with the openness, to know that you're going to get something out of this relationship. It may not be the thing that you are expecting. It may not be the reason why you have joined the program. And I think in some cases, people join with the expectation, now I have a mentor, I'm going to have a job. And that's, I think, not the optimal way to look at this. But approaching it in the spirit of intellectual humility, with an openness to learning, to experiencing, to being shaped by your mentor and by the experiences you jointly have, is incredible. And by the way, I think that's the same advice for mentors too, right? We can often get trapped in sort of the thinking that we are sharing something of ourselves, that it's an act of sort of single direction learning or knowledge exchange. And really, I've always found that I learn just as much from my mentees as whatever little I'm able to impart.
Kurab, can you tell us a little bit about how being a mentor has impacted you?
So throughout my life, no matter how busy and how many demands there have been on my time from other things, I know that there have been time that others have made for me in their lives. There have been people who have set aside whatever was pressing on their agenda, on their plate, and said, I'm going to spend time with him and I'm going to help him think about his career, his academic growth, etc. And I wanted to be able to do the same for my brothers and sisters in the Jamaat as well. And so I've always made time, and to tell you the truth, I've never regretted being a mentor. It's always been an incredibly special and uplifting experience for me.
It's beautiful to hear. Nurullah, I think it's safe to say that you've had to overcome so many challenges, maybe even more than most, in achieving so much in your career so quickly. What advice would you have to give to others whose families may have immigrated from Afghanistan or elsewhere, and who are seeking to establish really strong careers and lives here? How did you persevere, and also what has kept you going?
Just to share a little bit of a background, when we first came to Canada, it was around 2003. I was a lot younger back then, and honestly, I didn't know any English. And so starting from junior high, I would look at my science textbooks, my social studies textbooks, and I'd be like, I don't understand a single word. And so I would spend most of my time in ESL, and it was really tough. But with hard work and perseverance, I was able to get out of ESL by grade 9, and then in high school I was kind of trying to get my marks high enough so that I can get into university. And throughout that time, of course, I've had many people who've helped me. And so what I would say to people who come to Canada from other countries is, I would say, first of all, keep an open mind towards learning new things. For me, it was a language barrier. It was a cultural shock. But I observed for quite a bit, and I tried to learn as much as I could. And what that does is it makes the assimilation process much easier. And so if you persevere through that and I'm pretty sure that you can make it through anything if you can work hard towards that with a very positive attitude. And on top of that, I would totally suggest, go out and participate in these programs like Fast Track, because they're absolutely gold. They're super helpful. I actually didn't have access to anything like Fast Track, but I think that any kind of newcomers to Canada that have access to this program should take full advantage.
Oh, good, Nurullah. I'm glad to hear that we've convinced you. Mubina, I know that the Fast Track program has been in existence for about 8 years as a national e-mentorship program. How amazing. For those who are watching that may be interested in being a mentor or a mentee, can you tell us a little bit about what is involved in terms of time commitment? What ages are eligible to become mentees, and what kind of backgrounds are you looking for in your mentors?
Yes, of course. So we want to invite Jamaati members looking to enter various different career paths, and also those who may be professionals in these careers who also happen to be between the ages of 14 to 40 years, to please consider signing up for the Fast Track Mentorship Program. There's a very quick application to fill out on the website. And just as a little bit more information for potential mentors, we know that the professionals in the Jamaat are very, very busy, and we want to make the program as accessible and as mentor friendly as possible. So we do have a time commitment of about 4 calls over the course of the year that we would expect mentors to have and to take out some time to speak with their mentees. And then of course, we also provide materials such as modules, so that the entire onus of kind of directing this mentorship relationship does not fall solely on the mentors. And the support of the executive team would, of course, always be behind them, whether that be the case managers or any other member of the executive team.
Great. So if I were to summarize what you're saying, Mubina, it sounds like the registration for the Fast Track program is open. Mentees who are interested in applying, we're looking for mentees from the ages of 14 to 40, but really mentors can be of any age, from diverse career backgrounds, any range of potential interests and passions. Sounds like a really outstanding program. Vice President Karim, we'll leave the last word to you. You are obviously extremely busy in your professional and seva life, and yet you've taken this time to be a mentor. So clearly you see this as being an important use of your time. Can you tell us a little bit about what motivated that? And what's your goal or your vision for mentorship in the Jamaat overall?
Thanks, Alima. Let me start with the question of the goal. And I think the goal is quite simple for me. All of us across the Jamaat are going to have to make challenging choices in the coming years. We're going to have to think about our futures. We may have to change career pathways. We may have to change jobs. We may have to make new choices in terms of our business interests, our academics for those who are students, etc. But we are, as we like to say, one Jamaat. And I don't believe that any member of the Jamaat, no matter where they live, no matter what their background, should have to make those difficult choices without having the option to speak to someone else who cares about them, who cares about their future, who wants to help them pave the way a little bit with the experience that they have, to support them in whatever way we can. And that really is what mentorship is about, and that really is what Fast Track is about. It's about ensuring that those who have these kinds of questions, those who are having to make these kinds of decisions, know that they can do it with the support of their family, of the Jamaat across Canada. And this is only going to work. It's only going to work for the mentees if we have mentors come forward. if we have people come forward who say that, you know what, I remember that I was given a helping hand along on my journey, and I'm going to extend that hand back out to someone else in my community. And for those who feel like they didn't receive any mentorship, you know what a difficult path, what a difficult journey it is. You know how isolating it can feel to walk that path on your own. And here's an opportunity to ensure that another family member doesn't have to go through what you went through. And so I really hope, through everything that we've heard today, folks will be encouraged, inspired, motivated to sign up for Fast Track, either as a mentor, as a mentee. You can actually do both in Fast Track, but come forward and be part of enriching this virtual community that we have from coast to coast.
Well, Karim, I can say that as someone who has really benefited personally from your mentorship, that I couldn't be more inspired and can't see more clearly the benefits that being a mentor and having mentorship within the Jamaat or even outside provides. So thank you so much for that. And I will definitely sign up as a mentor, also probably as a mentee, because I am constantly going through the process of trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. Thank you so much to all our panelists. It's been such a privilege to have you join us, share your personal stories, your anecdotes, your experiences. I know I've gained a lot from the discussion. And a reminder to all of those who want more information on Fast Track, go to iicanada.org/fasttrack and click on register now. The deadline to register is January 25th, which is next Friday. So please sign up, and we look forward to seeing you online. Thanks so much, and back to you, President Noor.
I hope you all enjoyed the panel discussion as much as I did and are moved by the great impact that mentoring others can have. I would like to share with you a story that I once heard and it stuck with me, and I often reflect about it. It's the story of a conversation that a man had with a dervish or a sage. The man asked this dervish, "Where is the biggest treasure in the world?" The dervish thought about it and he reflected and he looked around and he saw a graveyard. And he told the gentleman that was pointing to the graveyard. He said, "That is the biggest treasure in the world." And the man was surprised. He said, "How could that be? It's a graveyard." To which the dervish responded, "You know, all those people who are lying there, they had so much potential. They could achieve so much and they had so much talent, but they never realized that potential and they went from this world. Had they realized those potentials, it would have been the biggest treasure in the world." So first, when I heard that story, I was always reflecting that we all have a lot of potential, and it's a personal responsibility that we push our limits and we realize our potential. And then reflecting it, on that story from a context of mentorship, I think mentorship could be a powerful tool to unlock that value, that potential that is in people, and we can just have a very, very great impact on the society and in the community just by mentoring people, unleash their inner power and their potential and make a difference in people's lives. So I really, really believe in the power of mentorship, and I'm very supportive, and I look forward to a great buy-in and support from the Jamaati members. I would like to quote from the historic address of Maulana Hazar Imam to a joint session of Parliament of Canada in 2014. Quote, "I have been impressed by recent studies showing the activity of voluntary institutions and not-for-profit organizations in Canada to be among the highest in the world. This Canadian spirit resonates with a cherished principle in Shia Ismaili culture, the importance of contributing one's individual energies on a voluntary basis to improving the lives of others. This is not a matter of philanthropy, but rather of self-fulfillment, enlightened self-fulfillment. we end tonight's show with musical expressions. Thank you for joining us. Merci à tous. Khuda Hafiz.
मुश्किल हो आसान मुश्किल कुशा मेहरबान मुश्किल हो आसान मुश्किल कुशा मेहरबान जाते जो आली मकाम कुव्वते परवरदिगार ला फता इल्ला अली ला सैफ इल्ला जुल्फ़िकार अली मौला कहती रहूं नाम अली से मैं तो रंगती रहूं दम दम अली अली करती रहूं तू ही जिंद मेरी जान अली मौला कहता रहूं नाम अली से मैं तो रंगता रहूं दम दम अली अली करता रहूं तू ही जिंद मेरी जान तेरे दर पे जो आए खाली हाथ न जाए तूफान में फंसी कश्ती को तू ही पार लगाए तूफान लो दिकटुम कश्ती उन्हें मुश्तर दिवशुमार नजरे करम हो जो तेरे कैसे टले ना फिर बजाए मेरी शाह वली शेर खुदा मजहर नूर खुदा लापता